be very short. I have someone on stage who can speak for a long time, so I'm going to I'm going to start by saying I had to be talked into being on stage this evening because those of you who know me know that I'm a quiet introvert, and taking the stage is not something I'm comfortable with. But I agreed to do it this evening for a couple of reasons. One is that I feel that I may have some perspective to share that could be useful to hear. And secondly, I have some experience. And I'll just mention that real quickly. I'm a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so I'm a northerner. But as a young child, I had the opportunity to spend my summers on the Eastern Shore of Maryland back in the 1950s, and worked on the farm with my cousin, and had the opportunity to realize that if I was going to get somewhere in life, I was going to have to get off the farm. I remember clearly picking beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, and other produce, and seeing what were then called Florida camp folks working in the field next to me, and seeing what I remember to be depressing situations where I saw the entire family working in the fields in what I call abject poverty. So I realized then that I needed to get an education. At that time, too, I also had the opportunity in 1954, while the public schools in Philadelphia had not started, they had begun in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I had the opportunity to ride on the bus the first day of integration in the South, so I consider that a distinction. The other thing I want to say that might help with some perspective is that I'm sure all of us are familiar with what has happened over the past week in Charlottesville. And I just want to mention that back in the mid and late 70s, I was a student at the University of Virginia, and I experienced what Charlottesville was like at that time. I also happened to be I was admitted to the University of Virginia, I'm sure, as a result of affirmative action. And my first day on campus, the director of the community psychology department came to me and told me that I didn't belong at the university. For quite a while, I pretty much understood what was going on, and I would just say, to bring a long story kind of to a close, that I got through the University of Virginia and obtained my PhD, one, because of affirmative action, and two, as a result of the grace of God. While I was there, I also learned that I was the first African American in 1979 to obtain a PhD degree from the University of Virginia in psychology. And I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying that because that's a sad commentary on the history of major universities in the United States. 1979, I was number one. There was another individual who by arrangement got a degree from the School of Education earlier than that, but not from the Department of Psychology. While I was at the University of Virginia, you can imagine some of the things that I experienced based on what I've already mentioned. And so I would just say at this point that things changed dramatically at the University of Virginia after I left And I think based on the statistics that I'm reading in the paper now, that 6% of the population, student population at the University of Virginia is African American, and it was considerably higher a few years ago. I would just have to say I'm not sure what's going on there right now. So with that, I would also just end by saying my background is psychology. And so I might be able to say something from the psychological perspective as it pertains to questions that someone might have. Thank you.
So Bristow, if you will entertain questions if there are any.
We would like to thank Dr. Bill Wiggins and Dr. Howard King for their comments on American denial. And I can't wait, Bill, to review the essay that Ralph Ellison did on American Dilemma. And I hope, and historians, you can point out what I'm going to say. Didn't they say that on his desk was the Declaration of Independence and then a quote by Abraham Lincoln on how bad it was to be silent. And then I'm thinking, and I'm saying to the historians, Governor needed to have done some more research, because if he's going to hold Abraham Lincoln up as a liberator and emancipator, he needs to go back and do some research on Abraham Lincoln's history. And yeah, because what I'm finding out is that if Abraham Lincoln could have won the war and kept slavery, he would have done it. So Governor needs to do, to me, notice I said to me, Governor needs to do a little bit more research on African American Civil War history too. Well, now it's open to, and Dr. King, I also went to UVA too. And I did meet Ralph Ellison at UVA. Okay.
May I say something before the questions? I'm not here to defend Abraham Lincoln, but I'm here to look at a person who suffered really from cognitive dissonance. He had some serious issues, approach avoidance, and yes, he acted in racist ways, especially out in Cincinnati when he said he preferred, if there was a position of superior and inferior, he would have whites occupy the superior position. He did do something that started to be close to kind of a 180. He did support colonization.
Yes.
He was confused, there's no question about it, and I'm ambivalent about it, but he strikes me as being very similar ultimately in terms of being ethical and moralistic, ultimately. And the whole Civil War thing about enslavement was that the Founding Fathers, quote unquote, around Founding Fathers, they did not want enslavement to go beyond where they had established it. That was Lincoln's whole position pretty much. He would have continued to have enslavement, yes. But to take the stance he did take to push the 13th Amendment, I have to give him some credit for that. There's no question about that. Very, very ambivalent am I about that, but we do have to look at both sides of him, let's put it that way, both sides. And I will add that based upon Joel Rogers' research, he was one of our so-called 5 Negro presidents.
Right.
As in that if you have one drop of Negro blood, quantum blood, you messed up.
Yeah.
I mean that. That means that you know what I'm saying, you automatically African. So I understand what you're right on there, yes. But it's kind of like Benjamin Franklin Butler, the fellow who didn't sit back, Shepard Mallory, Charles King Mallory Street, the slaver, Shepard Mallory, Frank Baker, James Townsend. Again, Benjamin Franklin Butler did a 180. He became a radical Republican. He did wonderful things. I like that man. I didn't really care for him earlier because he wasn't quite right, but he got right. I know I shouldn't have gone on with that, but once you start, I got to add the pieces. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The floor is now open for questions from the audience. So once I see the first hand, I will give the mic